Of all the fairy tales we've told ourselves here in America, the one we most need to get rid of now is, in America, no one is above the law. Let conservatives get weepy-eyed about this magic, infallible Constitution that Jesus personally delivered to the Capitol. It's incumbent on the rest of us to remain clear-eyed about its flaws. And when you don't have to follow the orders of law enforcement, as Trump clearly doesn't, you are above the law. I'm tired of hearing TV lawyers say the president can't refuse a subpoena. Even Rudy Giuliani said that. He said, you got to do it. I mean, you don't have a choice. Yeah, except that was in 1998 when Clinton was president. Now, Rudy says, we don't have to. He's the president of the United States. As Rudy's 3 ex-wives can tell you, he's not really good at being married to anything. I know liberals have this vision of Trump forced out of the White House and arrested, but that's not going to happen no matter how many cartoons of it you post on your Facebook feed. The noose is tightening, I hear people say. No, the noose is not tightening. His face is always that color. The Constitution does not give permission to indict or prosecute a president. You can't legally resist arrest, but he can. Could you ignore a subpoena? Could you pardon yourself? If your obedience to the law is strictly voluntary or compelled by shame, of which he has none, you are above the law. If you don't believe me, the next time a cop is writing you a ticket, try saying, I don't think so, officer. Your traffic stop is a witch hunt. And don't bother arresting me either. I've already pardoned myself. Executive privilege, bitch. Checks and balances is a cute theory. But have you met Paul Ryan? The Constitution only has 2 recourses for an evil president. The 25th Amendment, which allows the cabinet to remove a president who is crazy and incapacitated, which might work if Trump's cabinet wasn't crazy and incapacitated. And impeachment. But impeachment means nothing without conviction, which requires 67 votes in the Senate, which even after the best blue wave election ever would mean at least a dozen Republicans crossing party lines. Not going to happen. We're on the honor system, and Republicans are fresh out of honor. John Adams had it right back in 1780 when he said, there is nothing which I dread so much as a division of the republic into 2 great parties. But that's what happened. And even the founders couldn't foresee our current level of tribalism, where half of us would hear Laurel and half would hear Yanni. They never imagined a Congress full of shameless partisan enablers who wouldn't turn on Trump if they found out he was using the eternal flame to light farts. And in that atmosphere, this president doesn't have to do anything, except explore how far he can go until he's stopped, like the way he used to walk into the dressing room at the Miss Universe pageant. Oh, I know. We're playing 3D chess, and he's playing I tipped the board over. Because here's what's going to happen. Mueller will request an interview. Trump will say no. Mueller will then subpoena him. Trump will say, go fish. It goes to the Supreme Court. They're partisan now, too. We learned that in Bush versus Gore. But say they do the right thing and order him to honor the subpoena. And he still says no. What do we do then? Call Dog the Bounty Hunter? That's when the same experts will be saying, a president has never defied the Supreme Court. Stop telling me he'll never do that. He always does that. It's not normal is not an argument that works on Donald Trump. That's the kind of dare that makes him hard. And finally, new rule. Someone has to explain to America's police that the purpose of the body cam isn't so you can upload your beatings onto YouTube. When did punching someone in the head become a law enforcement technique? The cops need to make up their minds. They do a river dance on your skull, and then when they're putting you in the car, they say, "Watch your head." We need to stop saying most cops are good like we know that to be true. I hope it's true, but I need some evidence, unlike cops. The bad ones, not the good ones. Problem is, again, we don't really know what that percentage is. That's the question I'm asking tonight. If most cops are good, why are there so many videos of them being bad? Just in the last month, we've seen just a few bad ones beating the suntan lotion off a skinny girl in a bikini, completely atypical officers mercilessly wailing on a homeless guy in Oregon, and totally non-representative policemen beating a black man in Arizona. That's a lot of videos of guys who barely exist doing shit that hardly ever happens. Not to mention the Milwaukee Bucks' Sterling Brown getting tased for a crime white people can't even imagine existing while black. This is why NFL players want to take a knee, not because they hate the anthem. Now, in the cops' defense, the woman in New Jersey did have an open container of alcohol. The homeless man was making loud noises. And the man by the elevator looked like he was, quote, preparing for a physical altercation, which apparently means he was standing up. It's like getting a speeding ticket in a parked car because your flame decals look fast. Seems to me we need a Me Too movement for the police. If Garrison Keillor had to go away for putting his hand on a woman's back, perhaps we should decide what should happen when two men pin a woman down in the sand and punch her in the face. Because I'm sensing a power imbalance here. There's obviously a lot of rage that police work brings out in a person, and I don't doubt for a moment that it's justified, and that we need to do more to help officers find better ways to channel it. But we also have to call men who wail on the defenseless while their buddies hold them down what they are, cowards. "84% of cops say they've directly witnessed a fellow officer using excessive force, and 61% say they don't always report serious abuse." This thin blue line stuff has got to go away. It can't be the... It can't be the duty of every American to say something if they see something, except for the people whose job it is to do something. When cops ask minorities why they don't snitch on their own, minorities have every right to say, "You first." And just stop defending the indefensible. They're always reviewing these videos as if they're ghost hunters looking for signs of a poltergeist. The only thing you need to review is your hiring practices. We need better psychological screening to weed out the people who become cops as payback for high school. Segment where we explain to idiots jokes they missed because they're idiots. And tonight I'd like to examine the reaction to Amy Schumer's new film, I Feel Pretty, which the professionally offended have decided that even though it's a movie by women filmmakers presenting a pro-woman message, it does it the wrong way. Amy helped wrong, even though she really just remade The Nutty Professor, where someone not thin and not cool magically sees themselves as better looking and gains confidence. Except when Eddie Murphy did it, he didn't have the purity police up his ass. The Hollywood Reporter wrote an article dissecting I Feel Pretty and its questionable message of empowerment. Rolling Stone called it fat-shaming. The Independent, reviewing the trailer, because why wait for the actual movie when you can start your hating 2 months early, wrote that I Feel Pretty seems so offensive it's frankly exhausting. Exhausted by a movie trailer. I think we've reached peak snowflake. The LA Times asked, wouldn't a bolder, more progressive version of the story have cast a woman of color? Oh, for Christ's sake, can't it just be funny? Can't we just sit in a movie theater, unclench our assholes for 2 hours, and laugh at what it is, instead of dissecting it for what it is not? Movie reviews. They're not even reviews anymore. They're just, how come you made the movie you made and not the one I would have made? If I had talent, which I don't. Some reviews noted that casting Amy as the ugly fat person undermined truly ugly fat people. Bad Amy, not fat enough. Others asked why her self-esteem had to be linked to her physical appearance. And yes, why wasn't the role given to a woman of color? I don't know, maybe because they thought since it's an Amy Schumer movie, they ought to have Amy Schumer in it? Yeah, who wound up, by the way, apologizing for appearing in her own movie. On The View, she said, I recognize that I'm Caucasian. I would love if this movie were starring a woman of color who's had it way harder than me. Yeah, because all goofy comedies should also address the black experience. Like that one where Jennifer Garner grew up overnight. You remember that one? 13 going on 30 years a slave? Life is too complicated to reduce everything to real problems on one side and white problems on the other. You can be white and still have a life where you pray for death. Just ask Melania. Oh, but being white is hardly the only thing Amy did wrong. The New York Post says the film is tone deaf for casting a straight, white, able-bodied blonde. And The Independent concurs, noting the film was flawed because Amy was still blonde, able-bodied, and well-dressed, with all the trappings of Western beauty standards. Yes, she's a traitor to feminism because she wears clothes, has all her limbs, and is hotter than Predator. Comedian Sophie Hagen also noted Amy's able-bodiedness. What is it with this? Adding that she's femme, and yes, thin. She is society's beauty ideal. No, she's precisely not. That's her act, you idiots. But you know who is society's beauty ideal? This one. The one feminists love more than life itself. A 6-foot supermodel in hot pants. Newsflash, people just like the physically attractive better. Sorry. The taller candidate usually wins the election. Studies show the better-looking person, other things being equal, usually gets the job. Even babies prefer to look at attractive faces. Oh, wait till you see the blog I'm going to post tomorrow tearing them a new asshole. Babies.
No, but seriously, no, but here, can I just make a serious point?
Yes.
In The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, geez.
The best part, Bill, let me just tell you this. This is a serious point. The best part of the show are the flashbacks where she tries to figure out where was the point when it was too late.
Right.
Where was it?
I get it.
Where was the point where if we had all just risen up,
right,
if we'd just done something, but because it happens in little increments.
That's right. That's how fascism works.
That's how fascism works.
They do it in little.
And listen, we have a president.
We lose one norm a week.
We have a president who, by the way, was not elected by the people and constantly refers to himself.
Yeah.
Constantly, he's constantly referring to himself in the Third Reich, and
No, you and I were on this page before anybody else, that he was serious about running and that he absolutely could win and probably would.
4 months before the election,
maybe they
on the
will
stage.
Listen to us now.
Well, they didn't
won't.
listen before.
No, they're not going to.
No, listen, but seriously, they have to listen. They have to, people, where are you? You have to listen. You have to listen this time because he is going to win the 2020 election.
Even if he doesn't, he's not going to leave.
And he's not, well, I don't think
that's what you have to understand.
He won't leave after the second term if he doesn't have to, and nobody stops him. This man believes in being president for life.
Yes.
He said a few weeks ago, Roosevelt got 4 terms. Why can't I?
Yes.
Go down the whole. He loves President Xi, President Kim,
He's
president for life.
dictators, baby.
He loves the dictators. And I'm telling you, my friends, if we don't stop it now, you'll look back at the show where we were all goofing around talking about The Handmaid's Tale. But this is the moment. The moment that he said that he was going to appoint someone to the Supreme Court, and we know this is the person, as you said earlier.
What's your movie about?
We're not going to plug anything here.
What are you talking about? We talked about his fucking show for 5 minutes.
The Handmaid's Tale. No, my movie. I'm finishing my movie and getting it out before the midterms because I want millions of people to get to the polls.
Yeah, that's...
And when you see this, we're gonna bring Trump down.
Good luck with that. Anyway, no.
We don't have a choice.
We have to
good
try.
luck with it.
I'm saying we have to try. But let's get realistic and not just be the people who are like screaming, how dare you? You know, it's got to be very focused. And finally, new rule, the party of Reagan has to explain how it has become the party of Putin. While Real Time was on our break last month, the infamous P-tape was finally found. It's a high-definition video of a press conference in Helsinki, and it's irrefutable evidence of a Russian hoe, and his name is Donald Trump. And like most hoes, he always sounds terrified when he's with his pimp.
President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
Yeah, this is like after 9/11, if Bush stood on the rubble at the World Trade Center and shouted into the bullhorn, "Bin Laden is innocent and the FBI will hear from all of us soon." Yes, the President of the United States is a traitor, but being Trump, a man who's never been faithful to anything but himself, that is not such a surprise. But how did Russia flip an entire political party? And not the one that was supposedly soft on Russia. 87% of Republicans say Trump should invite the dictator who keeps attacking us to the White House, to stay, probably. And Melania said he can have my room. Now, of course, part of this is due to the Republican Party now being a straight-up cult. Trump can claim that when he said would, he meant to say wouldn't. And because every day is opposite day now, the rest of the party says, makes perfect unsense to me. Would is wouldn't, and being friends with Russian thugs is, repeat after me, good, not bad.
That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Good thing, not a bad thing.
That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
It's a good thing, not a bad thing.
That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Good, not bad. Good, not bad. Good, not bad. Good, not bad. So that's part of the answer. But for such a fundamental shift, for an entire party, there has to be something more going on here, and I think there is. I think the dirty little secret about the Republicans and their newfound love for baseball, apple pie, and Mother Russia is that it's about race. Last year, Ann Coulter tweeted, in 20 years, Russia will be the only country that is recognizably European. As far back as 2013, Matt Drudge called Putin the leader of the free world. David Duke described Russia as the key to white survival. Today's Republicans, what's left of them, do not like the melting pot. And Russia, that pot don't melt. Russia is one of the last places on earth to say, fuck diversity, we're here, we're white, get used to it. I remember going to London in the 80s and everybody was white. The closest thing to an afro was these guys. But now London looks like New York, and the mayor is brown, and the princess is even half black. In the recent World Cup, the French national team didn't look like the old France. It looked like the new France. Germany let in 1 million Syrians. The fatherland is now the brotherland. You know how many Syrian refugees Russia has taken in? 2. Martin Sheen has more refugees in his pool house. This is what the Russian army looks like. The ballet. Their basketball team looks like the team that plays against the Globetrotters. They have a drink called a White Russian. That's actually the whitest drink there is. Let's see, I want to get drunk, but I also want a glass of milk. I could listen to it all night, but it's such a big news week. I mean, obviously, let's get right to the big story. The fate of the Supreme Court and maybe the nation hangs in the balance. I'm kidding. Stormy Daniels wrote a book about Trump's dick. It's true, she did. It's called It Takes a Village to Find It. No. It's called Full Disclosure, and Trump says he isn't commenting. He hasn't seen it, his dick, not the book. It's been years. And it's not all about his dick, but it's a lot about his dick. And Stormy Daniels, who would know, and she says it is small, but it has a big head like a mushroom. That's what she said. A head like a mushroom. Also, it stands for the national anthem. Other than that, it's a normal penis. But okay, all right. Let's get to the other dick in the news. Brett Kavanaugh is the. This time last week, Brett Kavanaugh was heading to be on the nation's highest court, and now he is heading to the world's worst high school reunion. Because anonymous is not anonymous anymore. We have an extremely credible woman, a psychology professor, who says back in 1982, when she was 15 and Kavanaugh was 17, Kavanaugh and a friend attacked her at a party, and Republican defenders are saying that we shouldn't be revisiting things that happened decades ago, which is what I say about Roe versus Wade. But their other big line is that, you know, if we're judged by what we did in high school, my God, none of us would have jobs. Okay, well, you know what? It's so we all did stupid things when we were young. I sold pot in college, but I never pinned anyone down and forced the pot in their throat. You know what I'm saying? Roy Moore is really, the Republicans, boy, they get in line. Roy Moore is defending Brett Kavanaugh. He said what they're doing to Brett Kavanaugh makes him very mad. He's also very mad that he wasn't invited to that party with the teenagers. I'd love to. Party, it was 5 people. I only found this out. 5 people. This could be investigated so easily by the FBI if the Republicans wanted to go that route, you know, an actual investigation. It's okay. I mean, it's a small community. Brett Kavanaugh went to an all-boys Catholic prep school. It's the kind of place where the kid goes into confession and says, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." And the priest says, "Dude, I was there." But I told you, the Republicans, they all get behind the same story. The one they are all talking about now today, I can't even believe this, is that, listen to this, this is their best defense yet. Dr. Ford perhaps was attacked, but not by Brett Kavanaugh, by someone who looked exactly like Brett Kavanaugh. This is what his doppelganger, that's what they're saying. 5 people were at the party and one brought a robot double. Yeah, that's right. Remember 80s parties? They were kind of like that. There were a lot of evil twins. Remember that documentary about Michael Jackson where he's nice at first and then he's a werewolf? Trump, of course, standing by his man. Trump said yesterday about Kavanaugh, he said he's a great gentleman with an impeccable reputation. And he knows this because Brett Kavanaugh spent 9 hours at the White House the first day this broke. 9 hours for a guy with an innocent story. That's a lot of time to spend at the White House. Been there all week. But Trump knows this because he said he and Brett Kavanaugh had a long, serious talk, pussy grabber to pussy grabber. Just the two of them. You can stop clapping. I have no money for you. But I know why you're happy today. I'm happy for the same reason. Because the courts of law, where real shit happens, have finally confirmed what a lot of us have been thinking for a long time. I'm not crazy. The president is an actual treasonous crook. And that's kind of a big thing. Oh, yes. You've heard of Black Friday? This week we had Orange Tuesday. They are rolling up the members of the Trump crime family. Manafort, guilty. Cohen pled guilty, currently singing. Alan Weisenberg, chief financial officer for the Trump organization, singing. We heard Don McGahn, the White House counsel, is singing. Even Trump's old friend who buried all his shit in the National Enquirer, David Pecker. Even Pecker is not standing firm. Oh, I love this David Pecker guy. Apparently there is so much dirt on Donald Trump. David Pecker kept a safe. They had a fucking vault at the National Enquirer with all his shit in it. That's how it took to keep all his... And somebody figured out the combination to the safe. It's the first 4 numbers of Trump's weight. But these convictions this week, this isn't even the main course, which is Russia. This was just the Stormy Daniels appetizer. Look, the campaign manager, guilty. The personal attorney, guilty. The deputy campaign manager, guilty. The national security advisor. Cabinet meetings are now going to be held on visiting day at Leavenworth. And, you know, buddy, I see all of Trump's lickspittle apologists on TV. They're like, oh, now just being friends with Donald Trump makes you a criminal. Apparently. Yes, apparently that is the case. By the way, one sign you might be a crook, your lawyer is going to jail. That's a little hint. Oh, Michael Cohen, Trump, boy, he turned on Michael Cohen. Trump tweeted out, if anyone is looking for a good lawyer, I strongly suggest don't retain the services of the guy I picked as my lawyer for the last 12 years. And then, it's just insane. And then, besides Manafort and Cohen and Flynn and Gates, all these people going to jail, the 2 Republican congressmen who were the first 2 to endorse Trump, Chris Collins, Duncan Hunter, they're going to jail. So many Republicans going to jail. Who's going to be left to lock up Hillary? No, if they lock up any more white Republicans, the white NFL players are going to start taking a knee. So now we are in the time where Trump has to start distracting. Speaking of white, he's deeply concerned this week, suddenly, about the plight of Africans, specifically the white ones. You see this? I have asked Secretary of State Pompeo to study the situation in South Africa with farm seizures and large-scale killing. This is this bullshit idea that the blacks in Africa are killing the white farmers, a conspiracy theory propagated by white supremacists. And when I say white supremacists, I mean Fox News. This is something... he saw on Tucker Carlson, and by the way, I always go by the rule, if you want to know what's going on in Africa, ask a guy named Tucker.